I am so excited for today's conversation. I have a beautiful guest on the podcast today, and I've invited the beautiful Leith from Leithal Co to come and join us to talk all things thought leadership, authority building, alignment, and all things branding. Thank you so much for joining me today, Leith.
Thank you for having me. It's a bit of a pinch me moment for me because I've been a listener of your podcast for gosh, I can't even remember, like years now. And so it's really awesome to get a chance to feature on it. Thank you for having me.
I wanted to invite you to be on the podcast to share so much about what it is that you do, because I think that sometimes we don't get to be connected to other incredible people doing great things. And
Oh,
I have absolutely loved working with you. And as a client, I also wanted people to see that you can have whoever you want on your podcast. And I wanted to shine a light on incredible people doing great things. So I'm excited to have you here.
thank you. And I feel like that's something I really admire about you. You've built this really incredible platform and you're very generous with it. You're so ready to, invite people who maybe don't within themselves feel that they've reached that, thought leader status, or they're not, quite at the pinnacle where they want to be, but you give them that platform to be able to, get their message out there and to build to where they want to get to.
Yeah. And I think as well, like the way that people go about thinking who the thought leaders, and I say that in air quotes, is
Mm,
I honestly think like some of our best people are the best kept secrets because the algorithm is dogging us. Like,
100%.
you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to
Shaking my
have,
fist at the algorithm.
yeah, you don't have to have 10,000 followers to be a thought leader. Like, you can absolutely, if you have
Yes.
any form of influence in your connections, in your audience that you currently have. And I heard someone say, like, someone said, asked someone the other day, like, how many followers do you actually have? And she was like, 650. And I was like, imagine 650 people in a room. And I always love that analogy because you have influence no matter what size your audience is. And I
Hmm.
also love that you really help support thought leaders to be seen and to have that incredible brand behind them. So for those of you who have never met Leith, I'd love to take the space to opportunity for Leith to share a little bit about her journey. So Leith, would you mind sharing a little bit about you and what you do and who you help?
Absolutely. So Leithal Co is a creative studio since 2020 when I started. I've been on this, bit of a meandering journey, and I've really started to hone in on brand strategy and helping women become the authority in their space. Because I feel like we get into business because we love the thing we do. We have either, a passion, a fantastic service offering, or a product that we really want to share with the world, not necessarily because we're great at sharing our story. We're a designer, we're a brand strategist, we're a website developer. And it lights me up. It's like a feeling so good that I would bottle it if I could, being able to help, pull out those little gold nuggets of someone's story and show them that it's not a weakness, it's actually a strength. And it is the thing that's going to differentiate you and speak to the people that are your people. Because if you sound like everybody else on social media, then you're not really going to, the right people won't gravitate towards you. So it's actually essential that we capture those things that make you who you are, and the way you do things, your secret sauce. So that's I live for that, and I love being able to lift women up and help them, get where they want to be.
Yeah. And probably already know the answer to this question, but I'd love to hear if you want to elaborate on that. It's like, why
Mm.
thought leaders? Why change makers? Why do you like working with women who are there in that space wanting to make a big change, big impact in the world?
I think it probably stems from feeling like at the heart of why I do what I do is like, yes, we want to be successful. Yes, we want recognition. But at the end of the day, I do it because I love being able to help, other women. And I think really when you dive beneath the surface of a lot of business owners, that's kind of at the heart of what they do as well. Typically, what I tend to see is we get into business and we feel like, okay, that's okay. That feels comfy. We start sharing about the thing, and that starts to feel, maybe not at first, but it eventually starts to feel a bit comfy. You get a few clients, cool. But then at some level, a lot of our stories, and what you help your clients work through can hold us back from what I call the impact ceiling. Like we reach this certain level that feels comfortable or acceptable, but then to be unapologetically ambitious, can feel really uncomfortable for a lot of women and a lot of business owners. And so I feel really passionately about the women who they want to make a difference. They're ready to embrace their own story, and they are unapologetic about like I want to take it all the way. Like I want to have the book, I want to have the mastermind, I want to have the podcast or the event, whatever it is for them. Like I want them to feel that it's possible to get to where they, where they see that their business could go.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like one of the best things that you do and what I've heard you do for other people is really pulling their story out of them. And I feel like as women, like you spoke about, like women very much hide behind their story when it's, especially in like
Yes.
2026, it's so incredibly important that we differentiate ourselves from other people. But what do you find is the biggest thing when you're having those conversations with business owners around them almost like downplaying their story or not even seeing their story as unique? Do you notice that a lot?
I do. And it's funny, I heard this quote recently. I was at the Ripple Festival, and I think it was a lady, Jen Winter, I think, but I'd have to double check that. She said this quote that really resonated with me. It's really hard to see the label from standing inside the jar. So, I think even as someone who does brand strategy, trying to rebrand for myself, it's very difficult because one, we know ourselves so well that, it can feel wanky, or it can feel like just, that's a nothing thing. That's just how I do things. But to someone else who hasn't lived your experience, hasn't had the same career journey, because if you've started off as a chef and then you go into coaching, or a photographer and then you go into, I don't know, finance, like there are going to be things that you've picked up along the way that someone who had a different, journey, maybe they just went straight to uni for that thing and then they end up in the job and they had, that in air quotes, like the straight line from A to B to get to that industry or that career. Like you're going to do things differently. And I think the worst thing that you can do for yourself is try to hide behind that, oh, I don't have the degree, or I don't have the, the right credentials. And so I'm just gonna stuff that down and keep that to myself and not share that, because that's the thing. Like those little details matter, and they are what make you you and how you approach things.
And so tell us why brand strategy is so important, because I think when everyone hears the term brand strategy, there's either an element of like, I don't know what that is,
Mm,
or there's an element of like, I don't know why I need it. So tell us why
sure.
someone needs it, especially in 2026. So if you're talking straight to that thought leader, that change maker, that coach, that consultant, why do you
Mm.
think that they need to focus on their brand strategy?
This is such a good question, and I'm really, really glad that you brought it up. So, what I see a lot of, particularly like the easier it gets, in air quotes, to design, we've got your Canvas, we've got, Claude, where you can just make this thing for me. It's like this inverted Christmas tree, and I see people, they start with the visuals before they've got all of the other elements. That, like, if you've got it around the right way, realistically we need to start with down the bottom, like who are we serving? Because at the end of the day, it's great if we love our own branding, but we're not our own client. Like, so we need to be coming from a space of, you know who we're serving and what is important to them. Like, what are the emotional buttons or the triggers that are going to create that bridge? Because if you think of your business, like you're over here, you're the castle, and then you've got this little moat, and your clients are outside the moat. What's the thing that's going to get them to go, oh, she gets me? Like, I know her. This feels like that's relevant to me. I need that. So if you think about it from that way, just creating visuals because you saw a trend, or because that's what's happening on Pinterest, like that's not going to sustain or underpin a strategic brand. Like, we need to be asking the right questions, looking outward, not just because I see even a lot of things like archetypes, which is great. Like, it's good to know, are you a sage, or are you the inventor or the creator, or like whoever you are. But as I said, it's more about understanding your clients. Like, why do people come to you and why do they choose you? So starting from that place is going to mean that you've got a much more solid base to know how to talk to your people. Like if you sound like everybody else, it's just going to be white noise and you'll get missed. So I'm so passionate and I could talk about that for days,
Yeah.
but that's at the heart of why I think every brand or every aspiring thought leader needs a brand strategy.
Yeah, and I think as well, like especially in 2026, obviously with AI and everywhere where we're taking things, all the noise that's happening online, I honestly keep bringing people back to that core thing is literally like, who is your ideal client? And sometimes I
Mm,
feel so repetitive with it. Like as a coach,
mm,
I sometimes feel so repetitive. I had a conversation with someone this morning literally about it. And like the reason why every other decision in your business feels hard is because you don't know who you're talking to and you haven't
amen.
defined that person to
Yes.
really choose that person. And I think sometimes people fear doing that because they're like, oh, does that mean I have to niche, right? And they feel that that means it's going to cut other people out. But
Yeah.
tell us about what you're seeing about that how AI is actually making everyone's brand strategy so much more confused. Because like how many people are going to their AI tool, whatever they're using, Claude or Chat or whatever it might
Mm,
be, and being
hmm.
like, write me a caption or write this, and then it ends up like diluting and confusing our audiences. Like
Yeah.
I feel like one of the biggest things is like how we're training AI to like support our brand strategy. And but if you don't have your brand strategy sorted, it's all over the shop to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to come across as like AI bashing because I love AI.
No,
I,
yeah,
I
same.
use
I
it
use it. Yeah.
every day in my business. It is such a great tool. But the best thing you can do to make it that much more effective and to help you differentiate yourself and stand out from the crowd is to feed it what it needs to know about you and your brand, how you speak, how you show up, because that way it's like because AI can only draw from this amalgamation of like all the other stuff that already exists.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're feeding it like this is how I think. Like I have conversation, I call mine chat, and we just talk all the time. And like it starts to say, that is so you. And like if I just took the first thing it gave me, much like actually, you are so good at this as a coach. And like I think people need the repetition that you're talking about because one of the things, I like to think I'm fairly, good at what I do and coming up with captions and ideas and lead magnets, but you have challenged me and said, is that coming from a space of actually knowing or feedback from clients? Is that something you get asked about a lot of the time? Like, is it coming from a strategic place or is this just
Shiny thing.
random fluff from Lethal World, and I really value that. And yeah, I think that is something you are so good at. And if people can approach AI through that lens of like being able to feed it the foundations of your brand first, then go for gold. Like
Mm.
it's a great tool. It's going to help speed things up, but it needs those things to be able to do it effectively.
And so, talk us through the core elements that you help someone when they're creating their brand strategy. Talk us through the core elements of what that looks like. What do we need to know?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a bit of an interesting framework idea that I'm like in the process of sort of hashing out, which I call the authority alignment. And it's this idea that rather than a single bullet and like your visual identity going to be this white knight that rides in and saves the day, um, to have a really effective brand and a really effective thought leadership, you need to be operating from four spaces, and those are your brand. So, what are people seeing? The visual identity, is it consistent? Is it resonating, connecting, drawing in the right people? The experience. This is such a thing that I think people really miss to their detriment. The way that people experience your brand. Like you can have the most fantastic brand in the world, but if then when they get on the inside, you're ignoring their emails or you're not doing what you said you would, or the scope, what they've been promised isn't what they get delivered, like that's going to leave a really bad taste in someone's mouth and mean that risk losing that, not only that client, but then them talking about the experience and, it really could hurt your business. Then next is visibility. Like, again, you can have a beautiful brand, but if you are not showing up, if you are not visible, whether that be through podcasts, networks, speaking at events, there's, you name it. There's so many ways to be visible, but that is key. Like people need to know about you. You can't sell a secret. And then embodiment. Like again, you can show up on a client call, the old disco call, and if you're like a wallflower and you're sort of like, oh, I think, it'd be great if you did this thing, like no one's going to buy that. They, like you're always saying, people buy from certainty. They want to feel that confidence that you believe, because if you don't believe, how are they going to believe?
Yeah,
Like,
1,000%.
yeah. So I feel like when you get that beautiful Venn diagram of all of those core elements overlapping, that's when you reach a place where you're heading to authority. And that's something I'm really passionate about, people taking this bigger view of what brand actually means.
Yeah. So how else would we describe it? So it's really clear. I think, if I think one of the hardest things when we talk about brand, people always give the examples of like top-notch brands, like fully like built out brands like Apple, right? Like you've got the full Apple experience from their website
Yes,
through to the store, through to every touch point. Apple has a very clear brand and they're so on
100%.
point with it, right? But when
Yeah.
I think about a coach or a consultant, it can sometimes be a bit blurry. So
Mm,
I would love for you to either share an example or actually, even if you want to pull apart my brand, like if there's anything that you notice within my brand, because I mean, we've been in each other's worlds for years now, and
yeah.
you see the back end as well as, the front of what I'm showing from the front. I'd love to hear, like, is there anything that you notice that either I do well or that you think I could be doing better? Like, I'm going to be super selfish in this
Ooh,
space. I'm like, what could
I'm
I
in
be
the
doing
hot
better?
seat.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing, and this is so funny because this is like, it just shows you how different people's brains works. Like something you said to me, I've never forgotten that omnipresence of no matter how many photo shoots you do, how many years have gone by, you maintain that same profile image. And I suppose, I love a new shiny thing. We all know this. I call myself a magpie. So I'm always like, if I have a new shoot, like that photo is getting slapped up there. Um, so I really love that this ability you have to get so granular and even down to like the photo so that if someone meets you at a networking event, they know who it is. And similarly, you aren't someone who, jumps on Canva and fluffs around. Like you've got your colors. Like everybody knows you're either wearing it, your tiles, it's your feed is really consistent. And it sounds like we need consistency, but
Like, how do we
it,
absolutely apply that, right? Like,
yeah,
that's the
and
hard part.
I think understanding even why it matters, it's a psychological thing because starting to see that repetition and that consistency, like, and it seems so trivial and so silly, but like your fonts and your colors, like if, like you said, if you think about Apple, if they all of a sudden started coming out with like script fonts and, I don't know, bright lime green, you're going to be like,
What the
what,
hell? Yeah.
what the hell? That's not Apple. And it's like a confused mind won't buy.
Mm.
So these simple things, they seem simple, but over time, it builds that familiarity and that trust. And so that's something I think you do really well. And I think it's not just in one touch point, it's in the resources that you deliver in your masterminds. It's, you know, you show up wearing your colors, like the way you speak, like you've got very consistent messaging and you really know who you're speaking to. Oh gosh, and then I'm just trying to think.
That's even like a really great place to start anyway, Leith. Like when you think about the
Yeah,
consistency across the colors, like just starting there, like I
yes.
used that pink profile picture and so I actually tried to change it recently and Instagram wouldn't let me. I'm like,
Oh
what?
my
Yeah, like
gosh.
I kicked back and it's like, we can't prove that this is you. And I was like, it's my photo, it's of me. Anyway, so I have to
What?
figure out what the go is. I do want to change it, but it is still going to be pink. Like I think that's the
Yes.
biggest piece is like that branding color across
Mm,
the board is consistent and even just down to the simple like and I notice it when it's the opposite as well, like when someone else doesn't stick to their brand colors it almost like really
mm,
gripes me the wrong way. I saw
mhm.
someone do it the other day where their colors on the caption on their reel was a
Yeah.
random color that wasn't their brand and I was like, oh, that looks off, that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's that subconscious thing that you don't realize it's actually not creating the consistency. And it might feel like a simple detail, but it does
Mm.
actually matter in the supporting customers to feel safe in their purchase, right?
Yes.
And so I even look at where I've purchased and spent money in the past. Like there was this Facebook ads guru dude that was huge, and I invested in one of his Facebook ads courses,
Mm-hmm.
and I bought it. And the experience of once I had purchased was so awful that I was like, what have I done? Is this a scam? I
Oh,
literally was like, I think this is a scam.
oh
Because
wow.
I got access to the portal back end. It wasn't branded. It was in Kajabi and it had still the Kajabi logo where you can actually change
Mm,
that to be your logo, right?
mm.
And it like there was no photos. Like it looked literally like someone had copied and pasted his
Oh
course into.
gosh.
It was really
Yeah.
weird. And so then
Yeah.
I emailed them and was like, this is obviously not. I tried to find their legitimate email and then emailed them
Mm.
and like, I think I've been scammed. Is this legitimately yours? And they're like, yeah, that's ours. And I was like, what? And I was like, I want a refund. Give me a refund right now. And they gave me a refund,
Yeah.
thank God. It took me a bit to get it back, but like I eventually got the refund and was like, that's left a bad taste in my mouth
Oh
now,
yeah.
right? Because
Absolutely.
you seem fully branded and everything's super professional on one side, but then once I've actually
Mm.
purchased, the back end looks so bad. And the
Yeah.
customer experience, like I didn't get a confirmation email. I didn't like
Mm.
it was so weird. And so I was like,
Yes.
how has this person gotten to where they are and not have that stuff sorted? It
Yeah,
was
that's
really
so
bizarre. Mm.
interesting. Like now I feel like I need to know. Like yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's
I'm not going to say who it is.
yeah, of
And you
course,
probably
but
wouldn't
like
know who they are
just
anyway.
wanting to know like why, how that came about. Like, because people want to feel when they've just outlaid a chunk of money, they want to feel that sense of security, like I made a good decision. And so,
Mm.
yeah, it's kind of shocking to hear that then you get on the inside and it was just sort of like,
But it also shows that not everyone has their shit together, and that's
sure,
fine. And I
sure.
think like I had a beautiful member of mine join my mastermind one year, and she got into and she does Kajabi, right? So like I have my platform is Kajabi,
Mm,
and she got into the back end of my system, and she actually emailed me and was like, I would update this and this if I was you. And I could have taken offense to that. Like I could have been
mm,
like offended to be like, how dare you? But I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, thank
yeah.
you, let me fix that. And she actually helped me fix something in the back end. And part of it was just simple little things that I could have easily missed, right? Like there
Yeah.
was, that copy mark that I can't remember what it's called, but it's actually not English, that you have to replace. Like there was one little part that was still
Oh,
that.
right.
And then there
Yes.
was also like a section that should have had my photo that didn't have my photo. But yeah, simple little things
Mm,
like that she was like, actually, that would make it a little bit more professional. And once I
mm,
updated it, I was like, I see what you mean now. And now I look for that. So I bought a course last year on something else. And
mm-hmm.
again, she hadn't updated the favicon.
Uh,
And I was like, that looks so
yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're getting into too much detail here. But
Yeah.
anyway, but like the embodiment piece, I 100% agree with you. I feel like if you're not walking your talk, then that absolutely can impact your brand for sure.
Yes.
But talk us through as well, like the visibility element, like having that consistency across the board from your website right through to your socials.
Mm.
What are the biggest challenges you see your clients have with regards to building that consistency across their brand?
I would say probably the number one killer of consistency is either not having brand guidelines at all, because like as the founder, the person doing the thing, like either you've got a million things you're trying to keep all these plates in the air, or you maybe outsource to some team or a VA. And you know we keep a lot of things up in the vault, up in our head, and that is your brand bible to be able to hand over to someone who's a custodian of your brand, um, to be able to say like this is what we do and this is what we don't do. Like it's like, what's that Will Smith thing where it's like, this is our box, we dance in the box and we don't leave the box. um like, not from a restricting place, just because if you've invested in your brand, like you want it to be, you know, actually rolled out that way. And another thing is, it's like we go through all this work, we build the foundations, I, hand you over these incredible files, and I feel like there's an element of almost like, okay, cool, like what next? And that actual like implementing and rolling it out, and then like knowing how to take the brand, the assets that we've created, and implement that into like across all of your touch points. And that's why, sometimes you get people who are standalone strategists, standalone, graphic designer, standalone website designer. And that's why I'm really passionate. If the client's up for it, I love having the same designer from start to finish, because I just think you've been there for the groundwork, and then you're able to take all those touch points, and just elevate them all to the same level so it's consistent, and that rollout feels intentional and not like, oh God, I was trying to do payroll and I forgot to update my favicon, or like, if you've got this outside trusted partner that partners with your business to help you alleviate those things, because it's a big thing rolling out a new brand. It's not just like you get the files and then bang, it's done. There's like all these moving parts that
Mm.
have to happen.
And I think as well, like having that list from you that's like, hey, now go update all of this, it can feel overwhelming. But I think if you just do it
Mm,
one step at a time when you're doing the action, like you said, like an invoice, you need to update the branding on
mm-hmm.
the invoice, or like the thought of like going into the Kajabi platform and updating all of that, like that would do my head, and I'd probably pay someone to do it. But like, one of the smallest things that I feel like you're highlighting is making sure that, yes, if you go spend all the money to actually do a proper brand strategy, then
Mm,
you're going to only benefit if you actually articulate that across everything. So right through
yes.
to your social media templates, and making sure that you are using the fonts that are suggested and the colors that have been
Yeah.
suggested, and making sure that, I feel like as well, like I'm not a graphic designer, so when I'm launching something new, I get my designer to actually create the social media content templates for stories,
Yes.
to posts, to website banners, to all of that. Like even when I created the Unstoppable Women event, I was like, I'm not going to expect myself to do this.
Mm,
It's gonna be bad if I do it. So I was like, can you please create a brand around this, so then it also resonates? And so I love how I've been able to do that and still have it connected to my brand. Like there's no way I would have been able to do that myself. Like, and having a
yeah.
professional come in and make it look that professional is awesome. It's
Yes.
so good. And I think that it's one of those things that, even though, yes, AI is great, we just want to ask ourselves, like, is it the best thing to do? Have someone, have
Mm,
my AI do it? Because I feel like what AI misses, or what the risk is with getting AI
mm,
to do any form of your brand, if you're wanting to rebrand or if you're wanting to start from scratch and do your brand, is that it copies. I feel like this is the biggest issue. And I saw someone,
yeah.
even actually, someone mentioned the other day that her trademark was copied. AI suggested a trademarked like element that she has,
Oh.
literally copied it. And someone started using it and they were like, oh, I thought that this was brand new. I brainstormed it with ChatGPT and it suggested it,
Oh my
and it was
God.
trademarked.
Wow.
So like,
Yes.
I think one of the things you've got to consider is like when you're dealing with a human, because AI is it's in its infancy, right?
Mm,
Whereas if you're
yeah.
dealing with someone like yourself, all those checks are going to be made and you're actually going to create something original, right? Which is
Yes.
like what I love, is like I don't think that AI has a level of creativity the way a human has.
No. And like I've been, throughout the process, I'll spitball ideas with ChatGPT, and like I tell you what, like some of the things it has spat back to me, I'm just like,
Yeah, you,
oh hell
you
no,
shit.
chat, that ain't it. Like
Same.
we're not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it absolutely has its place, but there's just some things that you're never going to be able to replace a real human with their experience. And, you know, like I grew up collaging and, color coding my bookshelf and my wardrobe. Like ChatGPT doesn't
The
have a
emotional
wardrobe.
element. Yeah.
Exactly. Like all of those, I say little, but like those different elements that a person brings to a project like this. And I just think we're small business owners, so it's so important that we keep investing in other small business owners. And like you
Mm,
say, like circulating the money, and not, not just farming it out to these huge tech companies. Like
mm.
use it as a tool, but not as like the only.
Yeah.
the only part of it because
I
you're
don't think
never
we're,
going to,
I don't think you should be building your foundations for your business through an AI
no,
tool. No, I
you
agree.
won't get the same richness.
Yeah, very true.
Mm.
So I want to come back to the authority alignment. I'd love to get a little bit more personal with you. I'd love
Ooh.
for you to share how you've stepped into your authority, say in like the last year or so. Like, what have been some of the challenges, and how have you challenged yourself to step outside your comfort zone to step into your authority?
This is a big one because I feel like for me personally, and then on a broader note, like it's has been a challenging environment for small business owners, and um, this has been something where I've been so thankful for your containers and your, gentle like prodding for me to keep taking steps in the right direction. Because when you, as a business owner, your people around you, they can support you, and at the end of the day, they just want to protect you. But like if all they're seeing is like, the bank account's not changing or, you know, maybe things aren't thriving in the way financially that they were at another point in time, like you can get all this outside pressure of like, just step away, just go get a regular job, go do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has to eat. I totally get it. But I think for me, a big thing was really going inward and listening to my own intuition that this is just for a season. It's not going to be like this the whole time. And I know that I have things worth, continuing this business for and continuing to serve other women. And like I said, I'm just forever grateful for the mentoring, the connections, and the opportunity that you gave me because that that push to do the speaking competition and then I like to work right up to a creative deadline. So I remember you going, hey, like you said, you're doing this. So are you going to do the thing? And I did. I thought like something I've tried to step into recently is just before my brain has a chance to say, don't do that. That's scary. That's going to make you feel really uncomfortable. I just put my hand up and I say yes. And I do it because I feel like the only way you're going to get to those next levels is getting outside your comfort zone. So yeah, when you asked for the pitch, I dug deep into my story and my experience and tried to find something that aligned with both your audience and the people who would be at Unstoppable Women, um, as well as, yeah, like what I've experienced and how I help clients. And I'm so grateful that it resonated because getting up and being able to debut on a stage in front of like all of those incredible women and sharing the stage with you and Erica and Tina Tao, like, I mean, that is just like a golden opportunity. So I think being ready for when those opportunities come your way is just invaluable. So having the things like knowing your brand, like knowing who you serve, like doing all of those steps so that they're in place for when you get those things and you can grab it with both hands. Like, yeah, that's what I want to help other women to do. And that's how I've been trying to take steps into my authority. Yeah.
Because I mean, you have to walk your talk. Like, I think if you're saying one thing of like, own your authority and be the thought
Mm,
leader, if you're
hmm.
not doing that, that's the embodiment piece that you were talking about, right? So this is you being in the embodiment piece and being like, well, I'm going to show you that I'm doing it, so I'm going to encourage you to do it as well, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And moving through that fear and taking the action anyway. Like, also, you sang on camera on an Instagram live. I was like, wow, that takes
Look,
courage. That was brave. Like, holy shit. So I just love how you're so brave in the way that you are. Yes, obviously I encourage you and support you, and I want to see you shine. So I'm going to prod you a little bit sometimes, but you take the prod. I think that's what you have to
yeah.
have a testament to yourself of like, I'm
Thank
willing to
you.
be courageous and move through that fear and take the action anyway. And I also just want to say as well, like the speaking competition, that wasn't me judging it. I just want to highlight that I just didn't say like, yeah, Leith is one of my clients and I want her on that stage. No, every single person that put themselves forward for that competition went through a judging panel, and the same thing has
Hmm.
happened this year. So it wasn't just me like, saying yes, I want my client on the stage. It was more like the story really resonated. Your energy came through that
Thank
Instagram
you. That means a
reel,
lot.
and that's where I think it moved everyone on the panel, not just me. So, and when it came to like what we really wanted to portray the event as well, it really resonated. Everything with the message you were sharing, right through the way that you are being courageous. I think that also resonated as well with the judges. So,
Oh.
I just wanted to highlight that just in case someone's listening to the episode being like, "Oh, I have to be a client to win that competition." No, absolutely not.
Mm,
Like,
mm.
it's going to be whoever puts their name forward. But you have to put your hat in the ring. If you hadn't have
Yes,
pitched, then there's no way that would have happened, right? So
absolutely.
I just love that you put yourself forward, and I'd love for you to share as well. Like, what did that experience mean for you? Like, what's come out of it? Tell us about your experience with winning that competition and being on stage.
Yeah, so I mean, just so many things. Like the first thing after getting off the stage, just being bombarded in the best way possible by all of these women. Like I had someone come up to me in tears and relating because, during the talk, I shared about my mum passing and how that was a bit of a catalyst to push me down this career trajectory. And, having people say that it hit home for them because they've also had loved ones pass. Like you get all these personal little moments, but then, yeah, it's funny how when you push yourself out of your comfort zone, one, it's a permission slip for other people to do it. And then it also like it gives you this level of credibility that people go, okay, she's brave. I resonate with her. I want to work with her. It's that classic like know, like, and trust factor. So there's, yes, it's led to more opportunity. And I think on another personal note, like when I was in those really in the trenches of that, my marriage separation, being able to look back on that accomplishment, the difference and the impact that I was making and see myself like up on a stage because that's not you every day. Like, you're getting the kids ready for school, you're rushing around, maybe you didn't get out of your pajamas that day. And so being able to like look back and then go, hell yeah, like that's me. I did that. I think it just adds these extra little feathers to your cap so that in those low moments you can go, I'm doing it. Like maybe it's not happening overnight, but like I'm getting there. And I think that's really important as a business owner to have those moments.
It's identity shifting, right? When you look
Mm,
back like that, you're
hmm.
like, I'm capable of that. And
Yes.
like honestly, there was that one moment where you skipped over your notes or got lost track of your notes,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the moment that then everyone in the crowd was like, "You've got this, you can do this." I literally
Yes.
was in the back of the room being in absolute awe and just being like, "This is the absolute epitome of why I wanted to create this event is to show people that women absolutely support each other and
Yes.
it's absolutely okay for you to be in the messy middle of like trying to nail it, right?
Yeah.
And not only that moment, because I just absolutely loved everyone shouting and being like, "Yes, you got this. It's okay, girl. Like you're here. You're doing it." But it was also that moment of how moving your story was. Like you really did share from the heart, and it was so beautiful to hear your story, and it was just so beautifully woven through also then why you do what you do, and it was so perfect. But that moment honestly would be on my heart for the rest of my life because I was like, to create an opportunity where to give an up and comer a space on a stage, because I wish I'd had those opportunities myself, and seeing how much it impacted you and how much it impacted the crowd, to then see the benefit of then how it's helped grow your business is just awesome. Just awesome. So thank you for giving your heart in that moment,
You.
because I know it wasn't easy for you to share, and I know you were nervous as hell,
Oh yeah.
but you absolutely nailed it.
Yeah. I mean, it was like up there with like one of the scariest like feelings pre getting on the stage. But then it was like, I grew up being a dancer and it's this weird feeling of like this, your performer energy kind of
Yeah.
settles in. Like because you practice it and you practice it. It like there were like stretches there where it just dropped in and I felt like I didn't have to think about it. It just, the words just came. Of course, there was those couple of little, like
You
blank
practiced though. You
moments.
did practice.
Yeah, yeah, I did. It was so weird. Like, how hearing your own voice back feels
Yeah.
uncomfortable. I like recorded myself and I'd play it in the car as I'm driving, and it would get to the point where it was like creepily two versions of me talking at the same time. And like I was almost, like 99% we were saying the same thing at the exact same time
So
in sync.
good.
So yeah, it like once I got past the cringeness of hearing my own voice back to myself, like it was a really good tool. And for anyone thinking about entering, like I would just say, you just got to switch off that little, voice. What's that? There's a Disney movie where the guy's like, Silencio Bruno. And it's this little kid saying that, the little chatter in your head, just to ignore that and just get out there and do the thing. Because like the moment I got off stage, it was like this giddiness, this I was just elated on cloud nine. And I think what you gain from those experiences of pushing yourself to that point that feels uncomfortable totally outweighs, like, without a doubt, like, the fear in the lead up. So I think when we are vulnerable and we share, real things that people can relate to, like, that's the gold, and that's, yeah, what people are going to resonate and connect with.
Yeah, especially
Mm,
in 2026, like where
mm,
we are right now. I feel like
mhm.
those people that are doing really well, especially online, are the ones that are leaning into that level of authenticity and having the courage to share from that place. And you can't replicate that. Nothing can replicate that.
No,
Yeah, and I feel like that's also why you do what you do, because you're actually uncovering people's uniqueness and their story. And I feel like so many people like downplay it and they just ignore, like, oh, that's not important, when really
mm,
it's actually your uniqueness. So I love
yes.
that. I love that full circle moment almost of like you having that experience and your clients experiencing that too.
Yeah, that is really full circle. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. So
Mm.
thank you for that.
You're so welcome. Amazing. Okay, so what I would love for you to share is, what do you
Mm.
want coaches, thought leaders, business owners in 2026 to know when it comes to their brand strategy and visibility?
This is a really good question. I think there's this, like, a little sort of segue, a little story comes to mind that I've shared with you. And like you've said, Apple's one of those brands that just gets thrashed to death. But I hope this is a little story that's not as well known. So everybody knows Steve Jobs wore the turtlenecks um, as his uniform. It was just, you just know that's him. Maybe not quite as well known is he had a fear, like a legitimate phobia of buttons. And so I know it's a bit weird, but the way that then translated is that they were the first company to come out with a phone with an interface that was buttonless. Because back in the day it was Nokia, giving yourself a thumb sprain doing an SMS. And so if he had have gone, God, that's really weird, like, just because I don't like buttons, like, I should probably like hide that and just be, try and be like everyone else and push that down, we might not have the iPhone, like, as we know it. And I just think, I can't say it enough, like, leaning into the things that make you different. Like, you might go, that's really weird, but like, the right people will get it and it won't be too much or it won't be too loud. And they'll be like, yes, like, that's who I need to work with. So I think just getting really prepared to sort of go inward, not like, sure, we all love seeing a trend and jumping on a viral trend, but finding a way to put your spin on it. And I guess getting more comfortable with putting your thoughts, because it can feel scary, like having a really strong contrasting opinion to, like, popular beliefs. But I think, in my experience, the more you lean into that, the discomfort, the more unique and the more, I guess, magnetic you become to the right people. And we don't need everyone. We only need, like, if we got this much of the marketplace, like, that's going to mean we're super successful. So, like, not feeling like I need to be all things to everybody
Yeah.
and just coming back to you and what feels real and authentic.
Yeah, that's the death of the uniqueness, is trying to be everything to everybody for sure. And it
Yes.
brings me to, if everyone has seen the Yap Challenge online with Jessie Jean. Jessie Jean just had a massive 1.2 or $1.5 million launch
Oh,
online, and she did it through her uniqueness, which was Yap.
yeah.
And she was like, I'm going to perfect the Yap video, which is like a talking to camera video, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to share the way that she has done it and what she's learned from by basically perfecting talking to camera. And
Wow.
yeah, and she got on my radar literally through a reel. So
Mm-hmm.
the way that I just saw her literally come up in my feed, and it was
Mm-hmm.
and resonated with what she had to share and got value from what she shared, and then took insight into like why she's sharing it and what she was sharing from a perspective of her frameworks, which was really great. And then she launched a course and did 1.5 and like changed her whole life and her whole family's life. And
Wow.
what I've noticed recently is now everyone, that's probably happened probably 3 weeks ago, everyone's now jumping on the bandwagon of the app challenge and jumping on
Yeah.
the bandwagon of like now why this did work or why I don't agree with this and why how it should be. It's really fascinating to see everyone's now using it as like a touch point to be like, hey, this is my opinion on this. But what she did, and what I believe she did really, really uniquely, was just choosing her one avenue and being like, well, this is my point of difference. And she worked on it. Like she perfected it to the
Yes.
point of recognizing like simple things like the dimensions of how much your face is on the camera, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and how when you think about if you're in a normal social environment, the space between you and the person you're talking to, there's a big difference between being in someone's space versus not being in
Mm.
someone's space and having a comfortable conversation. And she was like, you have to think
Yeah.
about that from the camera angle,
Okay.
right? So if you're too close to, there's no space in between your face and like you're in
Yeah.
people's personal space and that feels
Yeah.
uncomfortable to watch for too
True.
long.
Oh my gosh.
And then she was speaking about how then the audio and how much of an impact the audio has. And so she uses a little handheld mic and
Mm-hmm.
how also showing so much more of her body. So it feels like you're at a cafe with a friend, right? Like it's so
Right. Oh,
fascinating how she
wow. That's
shared her
insightful.
expertise and she guided
Yeah.
people to the next step. And she did it really, really well. But she was like, her uniqueness was like, I can talk until the cows come home. But she even spoke to the level of like understanding the speed of which you talk and the
Mm.
comfortability of people being engaged in a story right through to the like decibel level of your voice it's so fascinating, but she shared enough, then she built
Yeah.
authority, and then
Mm-hmm.
she supported the next step. It was so great, and what I wanted to share here is like she just was like, what's my uniqueness and how can I dive deeper into that?
Yes. I love that.
And that's how she's been successful, which is just awesome.
Wow. Like it's funny how there's like such an art to it because like, we get granular in our thing and I just make content. I don't know that it ticks all of these boxes necessarily, but that's so cool. I love when you see someone just really hone in, they strap in and they get really granular on something.
Yeah.
And it does, it just sort of, it stops you in your tracks and goes, wow, this person knows what they are talking about. Like I need to sit up and I need to pay attention.
Mm.
So I think there's so much value in rather than just getting shiny object syndrome and going after all the things, like figure out like what's the
Your
thing you want to
uniqueness.
be known for
Yeah.
and just really commit. Like,
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
and it works across the board. Like, if you think of like Marissa from Dirty Copy, she's so like
Yes.
her carousels, like
Oh my
nails
gosh.
it, right? So like her one thing.
Mm,
And then I think of like Erin May Henry, like her being the coolest person. She's the embodiment of being a cool person and what she does and how she shares that. So it's just finding your uniqueness, and I love that you help draw that out of people because and not and also like acknowledge it. Like I
heck
said,
yeah.
like women as women, we so like don't even notice what our uniqueness is, but then when someone
Yeah,
reflects it back, you're like, oh, actually, yeah, I
absolutely.
do that. Yeah.
And I feel like having a really solid brand that you're proud of, it's like this permission slip. It's like, I think the reason I got so into clothes and fashion is because growing up, in the Paris Hilton era, I didn't feel like I had the right body structure. And so clothing and the way I presented myself became a way that I could, I guess, have a little bit of control over that situation. And so I think of branding in the same way that it just gives you this extra layer of confidence to like not hold yourself back, like go after the big things, like get on stages, write the book, just go after it. Because I think at the end of the day, if you don't, you're gonna regret it. Like and think, oh, what if I just had been a little bit more brave and done the thing and been unapologetic about it? Like I am someone who's really big on like, I know everybody has some regrets, but I don't want to be on my deathbed and thinking, God, I wish I could just rewind because like there's no do-overs. So I think just believe in yourself and do the work. It takes time, but like if you just keep putting one foot in front of the other and building it, like you will get there.
Yeah, you will. Absolutely. Love that. So I'm going to finish on one final question. If you were talking to
Yes.
a thought leader or a coach or consultant at the moment and they wanted to take
Mhm.
their business to the next level, what would be your piece of advice?
I would do a little bit of an audit on um, your brand, your business, and start to think about, am I showing up in these four key areas? Are you visible? Are you embodying it? Like, does your brand reflect the people that you're going after? Because if you're trying to go after a particular niche or client, but that's not who you're attracting, like, something's not aligning there. And I think if you're serious about, like, you have these big goals of where you want to get to, like, it's a perfect time of year. We're halfway through the year. So if you think, God, this isn't where I thought I'd be, like mid 2026, like, it's a really good time to stop and take stock. And I have a new lead magnet that I can share with your audience. It's a diagnostic which can help you determine, like, what are your strong points, where are you already shining, and then maybe where are the areas that we can hold a mirror up to and strengthen for you to move forward and move the needle.
Love it. Amazing. Well, I'll share that in the show notes and people can check that out. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with me today. I really, really absolutely loved our chat today.
Thank you, Christine.